are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the Coronavirus Sessions, where our temporary mission is to save as many businesses and jobs as possible by sharing how your fellow business owners and professionals are navigating the impact of COVID-19. My name is Collin Austin, and my co-host is Michael Dees. What is up, man?
Not much, man. How are you doing this afternoon? What time is it? I don't even know. It's like week 8. Yeah, it's like week 8. Today that we're recording, things are starting to open back up a little bit, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been difficult to track time and days via remote life.
It's all a blur.
You like my toilet paper background?
Yeah, so it's been you that's hoarding it all.
I was inspired by Chris when we interviewed him and his fancy, funny, hilarious background.
I love he just switched like every 5 minutes and not even call attention to it. It'd just be like, oh, random background.
Yeah, man. Well, let's get into it. Got to thank today's sponsors, you guys. Let me thank a new sponsor, Jorge. Ooh. Jorge from The Best Restoration. He was on the show not too long ago, but this guy's always been an investor. I was going to say an investor into the community, but just a really huge support of us. And we've done business with these guys. And like you guys, just so you guys know, Mike, do you remember when we moved into the 633 location?
Nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare.
You guys, our location on 13th Street, if you're not familiar with it, it's like less than a half mile north of University Avenue on 13th Street. But one of our big buildings is it's like 6,000 square feet, and it's this warehouse, and it was a disaster. They had built these built-in offices in there, and we had to go and basically remove all of these offices because they were full of mold. And you know, the Best Restoration came out. They did mold remediation. They took out all of that. They did all the demo and then did the mold remediation. That's kind of hard to say, mold remediation. But these are, you know, Jorge is a guy that we've done business with. His team is incredible, and just super grateful. After, you know, he had done the podcast, he's like, man, I really like what you're doing here. You know, how can I help? How can I support? And he's like, can I sponsor some episodes? I was like, yes, of course you can. Thank you so much. So just super grateful to them. So you guys definitely support The Best Restoration. You can reach out to them by, you know, they can help you with your business or your home. I want to make sure people understand they don't do just commercial stuff. They definitely can help with your home issues as well. And you can contact them at 352-505-3321 or at I cannot speak today. www.thebestrestoration.com. There you go.
That's right. Thanks to Jorge. That was a really fun episode. We also have Matt Houchins once again from Houchins Consulting. You know, a lot of people in this remote life, they're Googling businesses that they're looking for services and everything, and he'll make sure that you show up in those search engines when people search for your product or service. He works with businesses nationwide, but you know, he's an ACR, Gainesville native, so he most certainly has a soft spot for these local businesses. And if you mention WHOA GNV podcast, Matt will hook you up with a free Google My Business audit and update, which is awesome. So you can connect with Matt and all the team at Houchins Consulting at 352-562-0310 or at gnvseo.com.
Boom, baby. Support our sponsors. Let's go. Thank you, sponsors, for supporting us. You guys are the best. Love you guys. Let's get into the show. You ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it. I feel like I don't know. It feels like days since we've done this, so I'm ready.
Are you ready to rock and roll? Like my roll puns with my toilet paper background?
What? Yeah, I feel like James needs to put a flush sound right there.
I feel like everybody misses out by watching or by listening to the audio podcast. You guys gotta watch it. You gotta watch it on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, man.
That's right.
The visuals. You miss out on the visuals. You miss out on Michael's expression when he gets excited, which is like once in a blue moon.
Right. Or my eye rolls or my puns. I mean, like, I get really excited when I hear a good pun.
Yeah. Hey, you're a punny guy. You guys, let's get into
on today's show.
Today's show with my good friend Adrienne. Adrienne, what is up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Hey, why don't you go ahead and, because Mike and I soaked up so much time already, like soaked up, I used it toilet paper to okay.
You guys are just all over it.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself to our audience and tell everybody a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I am Adrienne Vihlen. I am a brand new realtor in Gainesville, fairly long-time fitness instructor at Gainesville Health and Fitness, and an active mom still, even now, even more.
As she was fighting to get the kids off of tablets and stuff, so she has more bandwidth to record this episode with us.
It's a different battle every day. Today, bandwidth.
I love it. So how long have you been in the real estate game?
So pretty recent. I started just the last quarter of 2019. So I joined with Watson Realty in, officially October. Then you have about a month of training. So I hit the ground running right around Thanksgiving, and then into Christmas. So my intro into real estate was maybe, in a way, it was good timing and it was intentional because I knew that it would be a slower time of year to start, so I could kind of soak it up, knowing that I'd be hitting the ground running in January and getting into spring, which is the busy season. And I got maybe a month or two, and then I got to go inside. So my learning curve took a turn, I guess, if you could say. The traditional route changed for everyone, me included, and we're all still figuring it out. So learning what the market's doing for me is completely new, and it very interesting. I think it's so exciting to be able to see it in this time and how it's evolving.
Has it been nerve-wracking, getting into this career, if you will, and then all of a sudden this thing happens? I mean, from a level of uncertainty and not being new to the industry. I mean, what were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you like, oh man? I'm just trying to picture how I would be in this situation. So I'm very curious as to how you would be.
Yeah. No, I don't think scared or nervous ever crossed my mind. Disappointed maybe, because for me, so before I had kids, I was a sales executive with UPS. I'm very used to the sales world. And I know that it takes a lot of groundwork, right? Like you got to be in front of people, get your name out there. And I love that part of sales. I love kind of what you do, learning about people's businesses and how they make it work. And so for me, that's why real estate was appealing, right? It's the flexibility, it's all that. And I got to do that for just a couple months, right? And so for me, when I learned I got to pump the brakes, which I'm not always great at doing, it was kind of a hard transition. Like I had to make a conscious effort that I'm going to pull back a little bit from what I'm doing because I have to a certain degree, because now I have two kids at home that are very demanding. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old. And as much as I can put them in school, my 5-year-old doesn't know how to work a mouse on a computer. She doesn't understand a web page. My son is learning to read. So I have to sit with them. And so that was most of my day. And so that's kind of where I guess disappointing would be the feeling that I had, because it was like, I just got going and now I got to put it in reverse after kind of turning it on, letting myself get excited. That's been the hardest part, I think.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, I wasn't that invested in it. I didn't have too many stokes in the fire. I do have a few, sellers that I'm working with, and we've made some decisions for them personally that work best for them, because we literally were going to list right before Corona. We took house pictures the day before the quarantine, kind of the county order came in, no more doing that. And so you had to revisit and have some conversations that everybody had, what is best for your family, what's best for you all. And for them, it was putting it on pause, which kind of worked in line with what I was doing. But it's been a definite adjustment to figure out how to do both, or how to adjust both, and not stop completely, obviously. But I definitely had to take a step back just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so talk to me a little bit about the homeschooling life, because I mean, this has been a big adjustment. I've been very transparent on the podcast already, saying that I have not been the primary teacher in the household. Shannon has definitely taken on that role. She's up with the kids in the morning. The kids are still waking up. My kids are early risers. I don't know about your kids, but my kids are waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they just like to get right to it and get the schoolwork, eat breakfast and get the schoolwork done. So, from 6:30 to 9:30, I feel like is when most of the schoolwork is getting accomplished in our house. And Shannon graciously has been doing all of that as primary teacher, but I know that's just a huge adjustment to be now, because now you're a full-time teacher as well as full-time realtor. Are you creating like a set schedule, or like how are you guys navigating that?
Yeah. So like, if I'm honest, I, at the beginning, had like this excited idea that like, oh, I printed out the color coded schedule. I did all the things. We hung up a bulletin board, we like hit the ground running, if you will. And then about, 8 hours into the day, I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is not going to happen. So we've kept a routine. I guess that's the most important thing. So like, whether it's like in your house, you wake up at 6:30, you knock it out, you get it done. That is what I would love to say happens in my house, because that would be so much easier. But my son likes to drag his feet a little. So we have been going on morning bike rides around 10 to get kids out of the house and some energy out of them. We do that. It only takes him a few hours to do his work because he's only in first grade. So we're doing that. My daughter does her thing. I've just tried to keep it as loose as possible. I figure if they're reading every day, they're doing a few things, we're coloring, we're trying to get outside the box of what learning is, because learning isn't at the computer necessarily, right? So if we're in the yard doing some stuff, if my daughter's helping me bake, we're learning all the time. So I'm trying to not put that much pressure on me or the kids, because it literally is just me yelling at them, and that's not good for anybody. So
I want all the parents out there to understand that if you've been yelling at your kids a lot these past few weeks, that it's completely normal. The amount of screaming in our household has definitely increased by quite a bit, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. Don't think that, oh my gosh, am I the only one? All the other parents out there have their stuff together. They don't. They might try to put the Instagram story. They might try to show that they do with those few clips coming from the day. But I'm telling you right now, what I might try to put in the effort to get the real Instagram story and just film all of the meltdowns that are happening over the just sitting down to do the schoolwork. So just realize that you're not alone out there, parents.
Absolutely not. No, I had a friend ask me recently, like how it feels during the day. They don't have kids, and they were just like, what's it like? And I said, it's complete constant battle between guilt and grace, right? Like, I'm constantly feeling guilty that I'm not doing enough, because you see all these things online or just the assignments or whatever it is. And then the other side of it is I have to tell myself, I got to give myself some grace and realize that they don't do this all the time. I don't do this all the time. And so it's just that constant back and forth from an emotional battle internally. Like, am I on my phone too much? Am I trying to get too much alone time? So grace has been my best friend through the entire 2 months.
What about the, I'll call it the integration, because I've seen you do these like storytelling, like the lives. Are you doing that from just you personally, or are you doing that from a realtor channel, or?
So it's just a couple things happened, all these things.
And explain to our audience like what it is that I'm talking about.
Yes. So before quarantine started, I have a 10-year-old standard poodle whom I love. And part of what I love to do is volunteer, whether it be at school, through the PTA. I'm very active at JJ Finley, or just in the community in general. And we have a loving dog who I thought people love this dog when he goes around. And so I decided to make him a certified therapy dog. So in December, through the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, we started the process of getting certified. So you have to go have a handling assessment. You have to go actually visit the hospital and see patients at least 3 times. We did all that, submitted our paperwork the week or 2 before quarantine started. And we actually got his certification, I think like 2 or 3 weeks into quarantine. Now, again, timing was poor because we can't go to the hospital. I can't go to the library. I can't do all these things. And so in this time, I was just trying to think of how can I still get something out there? How can we still kind of have some fun? The kids can be involved. And so we decided to start doing some live storytelling. My dog's name is Duncan. I call us Team Vihlen. And so we read with Team Vihlen on Fridays at 3. It is an absolute ridiculous thing. We sometimes only have like 3 or 4 people watching, but a lot of people watch afterwards. But it's been fun. Like, the kids are so into it. They love picking out the books, figuring out what we're going to like wear. This past week, I dressed up like a blow up dinosaur. And that was the most fun I've ever had. So it's just been, I was like, now I have to read in the dino suit all the time. So that's, and it is broadcast through my Realtor channel. And then I put it on my Instagram page and stuff. So it's been fun. The kids have a blast. I'm pretty sure Duncan thinks I'm abusing him because he was not down with the dinosaur costume, but it's been good. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback from friends that are watching from different parts of the country too. So
yeah, that's great. I want to go down this hole a little bit further, Mike. So I know you got questions, so I apologize.
Go ahead.
But like, Adrienne, you and I have talked before about, because I spoke to y'all's group at Watson about personal branding and these kind of things. Like, is this, when you think about your personal brand as a realtor, how would you describe it? Like, is being a mom, I would assume, is one of them, since it seems like you're,
Yes.
building your brand around that. Is that like why you decided to do something like that, or?
Yeah. So I think definitely when I think about my brand or what I would like my brand to be, honestly, is just community. Like, if there's one word, it would be community centered. Like, I would like for people to feel like I've put my arms around Gainesville and hug them in any way that I can. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And part of that is being a mom, right? Like, I'm not now, but I was always up at the kids' school helping out any way I can. I'm very active in the county PTA and local, school PTAs. Any way that I can help, I try. And if nothing else, that's the message that I would love. So for me, community is, and I know you feel the exact same way. Like, I love Gainesville, and I would love to help out in any way that I can, whether or not it's being ridiculous in a dinosaur suit. I can do that from home.
I love it. That's why I ask, because I like to see, how people develop their personal brands and what even kind of creates the ideas. And I'm always fascinated by that thing, but that because I'm such
Well, I think part of it too, which has been awesome for me, is kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off. You can take yourself too seriously, which I can sometimes do. And so being inside all day and having to figure out how can I talk to people, there's only one way. I got to get in front of them online. And that is somewhat terrifying. So it's kind of a safety blanket, right? Like, I have my kids, I have my dog, I can be kind of silly. I don't have to be perfect. And that's been lovely. And so that's kind of helped get that out there. And now I don't feel weird when I think about like, oh, am I going to video myself doing this thing? Sure. Why not? I've already done this. So what's wrong? Like, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing. So that's been lovely to kind of rip that Band-Aid off and have that come out of it.
Yeah, Mike, we've seen that, like, that people getting over that fear for the first time because of this pandemic, like the fear of going live, or even the fear of creating content for the first time. It's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't feel like they have a story to tell, or before, pre epidemic, that they don't have a story to tell. No one's interested in what they're, doing, and it's interesting because as soon as this stuff first started to happen, you'd immediately see people, grabbing their phones and documenting, or just, kind of being a little bit more transparent, opening up. And it'll be interesting to see as this continues to move on, how many people have become more comfortable sharing their stories, documenting, vlogging, whatever it may be. Because I think it's cool. I think that is a natural, like I felt it myself, where it's just like, is anyone really interested in what I made for dinner, or what I have to say about business, or this thing that, the commission just put, but you're starting to see that through all of this, people are taking those chances a little bit more often.
Well, Mike, give your new thing a plug.
So I can't believe I'm actually going to do this. So I have,
yes,
do it. It's a little tongue in cheek. Well, it's funny because, okay, so my girlfriend Miranda and I, we started an Instagram food channel, and it's a little tongue in cheek now because I feel like a lot of people have done this now. It's like COVID cooking, and it was something we had planned on doing before all of this started. So now it kind of seems like it's like copycat, but we have like long-term plans of having like a bed and breakfast together and stuff like that. So we're starting to put, like food photos, cocktails, and kind of like that's the early stages of the beginning of our branding for it. But it's called the Alligator Pear. The Alligator Pear is another name for an avocado, but we're the Alligator Pear.
Is it only on Instagram? Only on Instagram?
Yeah, only on Instagram right now.
All right. So
that is adorable. I like it.
Alligator Pear. I mean, it's fun. But it's funny because I like to comment and be like, what the heck are you guys doing to me right now? Like, it really pisses me off because it looks so delicious. And I'm like, I can't eat it and I can't drink it. You make these like awesome cocktails and stuff too. Anyway, I think it kind of goes back to our point of like, this is a really unique time to start building brand or creating a new brand or creating a new, like executing on ideas that you really haven't had the opportunity to, or you just didn't want to because you were so consumed and busy with other stuff. You know, there's like, now there's a little bit of extra time, or people are, or at the very least, people are realizing, you know what, like, let me prioritize a little bit of something for me and a little like focus on some of my own content. And that's been super interesting to see. So I love your stories, Adrienne, and I love your the Alligator Pear, Michael. I just want to eat every picture though, which is the problem.
I'm going to check that out as soon as we get off this.
Oh, please do. We're accepting all kinds of likes and comments and suggestions.
I got you.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out what you're going to do with a giant inflatable dinosaur costume. And I know Collin's got some hot dog costumes and stilts and Deadpool. You might have to start like a costume co-op to just trade these things so you don't have to make these huge investments and only use them once.
I would love it. Listen, I have gotten so many like calls and text messages about that dinosaur costume. People like begging me to go grocery shopping, or like I volunteered to just go like dance outside their window. I was like, I'll do whatever if it makes you laugh. But yeah, it was a purchase that I was like, this is absurd. I'll never use it. But that is not true. It is coming in quite handy.
Yeah, Collin, I'm thinking you need to dust off the hot dog costume again. Maybe do it into stilts. Go bring some joy.
Dude, it was in the trunk of my car for so long. And like I literally pulled it out yesterday.
Probably smells like a hot dog now.
I cleaned my car yesterday, believe it or not. So, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I wanted to kind of ask a question on the realty front because I've started looking. I'll be moving in the summer, and so I'm looking at a lot of places. I'm looking for houses, and a lot of things that's come up out of this has been a rise in like self-guided tours, so key drops and stuff like that. And I don't know how prevalent those were before this, but I imagine it's growing a huge amount now. I'm just curious, like how does that change for the realtor, especially someone like you that maybe has a lot of sales background, face-to-face experience? Does that help or hinder you in terms of making transactions and stuff if everything moves to more of a self-guided contactless front?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely something that could potentially be lost there, right? Like there's something to be said about having someone there to guide you through the house, to answer questions while you're there. But there have been, I know just from coworkers of mine that have been doing it, a lot of success on the virtual tour side. So maybe you aren't in the building or the dwelling with the buyer, but you're outside, or you've already gone in and kind of prepped the space. You've turned the lights on, you've opened the things for everyone. You're outside to answer questions, or you're doing it live. I think that everyone will I think that's going to appeal to some people. Maybe the younger audience will be fine with this virtual side, because for them, that's a lot of what they've grown up with. Whereas maybe an older demographic is not going to do so well or appreciate like, hey, here's a key, help yourself kind of mentality. They're still going to want someone there to answer questions. So I don't think it's going to go away. I think we'll still go back to more contact, if you will use that word very limited, but it's going to depend on the individual, I think is the easiest way to say that. Just like in sales, when I was doing it before, like, your buyer, your seller, and you know what their likes and dislikes are. And I think you just have to tailor your approach to that. So if you've got a buyer that isn't going to like to not have their hand held, then you're going to make the effort to meet them or get them some type of technology that is easy to use, because otherwise it's just going to fail. And the same for the younger or different buyer that wants, to just do it virtually. They don't care. They just want a place where they want to see the inside and what are the features, what's the outside look like, and you can do that virtually. I mean, the technology that's around for realtors and that's been coming out, the virtual tours, and I mean, it's awesome. It's like being in the space. I was doing one the other day, and it took me up the stairs and around the corner, and it was like just flawless, right? It looks like you're right in the house. And it was in Sanford, Florida. I was like, this is amazing. So it's all possible. It's just whether or not the buyer prefers it. It's tailored to the individual, I think.
Yeah, like I know when I tour these places, like I like the self-guided perspective. I think it's part of just who I am. But like, because I have to sit there in a open living room and rearrange my furniture in my mind and fictitiously cook a meal or something. Like I have to like feel like I'm there, and I don't want to be wasting somebody's time or answering awkward questions or something. But I also know from a sales side, like if I was selling scooters, like, and I just leave a customer unattended in the showroom, then I'm really missing an opportunity not only to sell something, but to build a relationship, which I think is, paramount to everything. So that's why I kind of ask about the self-guided versus, having the realtor there.
Well, I think you have to have the relationship kind of established to be able to tell whether or not that's a good fit for your buyer, right? Like, for instance, when you're buying a car, my husband hates someone just standing there, right? Like if you even walk up to us on a sales lot, we're going to go home because he just doesn't like it. And so I know that about him. The salesperson should be able to pick up on that pretty quickly. But like, I think when you get a feeling about someone, whether talking to them on the phone, having that first buyer consultation where you're asking them these questions, like, how do you feel? What do you want? That's going to be part of the discussion now, right? Like, do you prefer someone to show you the home? Do you want me to be there? Do you want a virtual tour? Like, what's important to you versus just kind of throwing them out into the open. So developing the relationship and understanding what your buyer wants and needs are, which is what our job is, right? So we can better serve them, is part of the relationship and it's part of the process. And this is just another aspect of the questioning that'll be added in, the virtual side of it. So I think that's just the evolution that probably won't go backwards.
Right. I know Collin's looking forward to just having everything virtual reality. So goggles everywhere.
I just know.
Strap these on. Let me send them to you. Yeah, it's different. I mean, I've been trying to think just as we were opening up, like, as you said today, the first time that some businesses are opening up, some retail places. And for me, like, it's been a weird thing. Like, how do we crawl out of the cave? Like, how do we come see the light? Because I have been, and my kids, completely locked down. Like, I haven't been to a grocery store. I haven't been, the only places I've been, which is going to be a sad commentary and maybe a good indicator of my life these days, is I've been to First Magnitude. I've been through their drive-thru more than I'd like to tell you. So,
you're supporting local business. There's nothing wrong with supporting local business.
Heck yeah. I've got some growlers upon growlers upon growlers. So, but other than that, I haven't really been out. And so I've just been wondering, like, as I've been trying to figure out personally how I'm going to open the front door and step back into the light, is just like how that's going to happen from a business perspective. Like, how many things will roll back and how many things are just here now. And so I think the virtual side of real estate is here. I do not see it going backwards. I think it's just going to be integrated into every listing, every option. It's just now another part of our portfolio that we can offer buyers and sellers, which is great, because I think it benefits a lot of people, especially here in Gainesville, that are moving from out of state, residents or professors or just people from out of town. The marketing that you can provide to your sellers and to your buyers is going to be top notch now, because we've had to step up our game virtually. I think that's great.
It's been some very common themes throughout a lot of these, and that's definitely one of them, as to like what's going to stick from all this, and what's going to go back to the way it was. And it's interesting. I mean, one thing that's definitely going to stick is going to First Magnitude drive-thru. I mean, I hope that.
Listen, I have never been more happy to have like an automatic liftgate on my minivan. You just pop it open, they start slide in my beer, and away I go. It's just like the happiest part of my day.
It's like
it's bad. My kids, I'm like, guys, we gotta go. And they're like, where are we going? The brewery? I'm like, yes, we are. So.
I mean, back in the day, people would have thought there was some sort of drug deal happening. Now it's just like, oh, that's just your normal everyday beer pickup.
It's 2 on Friday. We got to stock up for the weekend. Oh, God. But
it reminds me, like, back when I first moved to Gainesville, there was that beer through right on the corner of 34th Street and Archer.
Yes.
Just, like, drive right
oh
through.
My gosh, dude. Not many people will remember that. That was epic. It was like a drive-through gas station. That was awesome.
That's exactly what First Mag has, and it's great.
That's amazing. So this has been fun. This has been cool. new perspective, new things. I like it a lot, especially on the homeschooling front. I know, like, shout out to all the moms out there that are really doing it, and to the dads if you're doing it, dads. But like, I know them. I know from personal experience. From personal experience, I know it's falling mainly on the moms, from what I can tell. So shout out there, and thanks for coming on our show today. Why don't you tell our audience where they can connect with you, or they can find you, social media, if they want to watch one of the live videos where that might happen.
See me in a dino suit. You can find me on Facebook at Adrienne Vihlen Realtor. And you can call me anytime, text me. It's 904-403-8269. Or email me at avahlen@watsonrealtycorp.com.
Oh, there it is, everybody. Well, thanks again. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you guys. And I love the TP.
Mike, any last thoughts?
No, I'm excited to exchange some social media likes with you. I appreciate you sending people to our page. I can't believe you made me plug that on here.
I'm so excited.
Everybody's gonna go.
What's for dinner? What's for dinner?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. We actually made. I still can't believe I'm doing it. We actually made dinner for my girlfriend's grandparents last night, so it was like a nice little scallop dish with the couscous. It was good. Pictures to come later.
That beat my mac and cheese.
Can't recall if people ever making me dinner. I'm trying to think. Has that happened before?
Probably when we were on that RV trip. I probably made you dinner then.
I don't know if that counts, though.
Probably not.
It wasn't scallops and couscous.
It wasn't scallops and couscous. Collin used to make a mean burger, and he probably still does. I just don't eat it anymore.
I do. They're delicious. Believe me. Had them on Saturday night.
Where have we gone? Wrap us up.
Yeah. Look at this. Just keep chit-chatting all day. So everybody, thanks so much for listening. I'll say this, like, if you want to support our podcast, you can definitely do so by buying one of these, like, really cool podcast shirts. The hashtag GNV ones have been flying off the shelves. So super grateful to everybody who's been buying those. Definitely, look, support your local Gainesville businesses. Go through the First Magnitude drive-thru, and anybody else who's got drive-thru or pickup. We need to see as many businesses through this as possible. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. And just like Adrienne, we absolutely adore this community, and that's why we pour our heart and soul into this. So thank you so much for listening, and we really appreciate you guys. This is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa.
Oh.
Adrienne, give us your best whoa.
Whoa.
And thank you.
Why did that sound so bad?
That was great. Thank your kids for sharing the bandwidth. We really appreciate it.
They thank you for the TV.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.